My dude, how are you? I haven't seen you in a hot minute.
Yeah, I know. It's I mean, I'm good, chilling, just kind of relaxing. Still, we got it's about 3 weeks until tour starts, so we've been off for I don't remember the last tour
Too
that we
long.
did, honestly. Yeah, it's been like last year we barely did anything, so I'm excited to get back on the road. I'm like I am and I'm not. You know, I really like hanging out at home now. Uh, whereas before I was like, nope, tour all the time. You got to stay on tour. Like why
Get
would you
home and the
ever stay at
demons get
home?
you.
Yeah, it's boring. And then now I'm just like, yo, like my computer's here, my cat's here, girlfriend's here. I'm like, being home's kind of sick now.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
100% relate to that. In 2019, I was away for like 6, 7 months of the year, and I was like, 2020, man, I just want to be home until March. That'd be sick. And then 3 years later, I was still at home because of fucking COVID. But
yeah,
also,
exactly.
home's
Yep,
great. When you build out a life you like, being home's lovely.
yep. That was it.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. Before COVID, I hated being home. And then with COVID, it was like, okay, now you have to be home. You can't do anything. And I'm like, okay, like what the fuck am I gonna do? And we got, that government money, like if you couldn't do your job because of COVID. So I was
yeah.
like, wait, like this is the first time I've had like a paycheck where it's like I get it every 2 weeks. I'm like, this is kind of sick. And then I like built a gaming PC and was just like playing games with friends every day. Didn't have to leave the house. I was like, yo, like I think this fucking rocks kind of
Did
like, you
you
know?
know how to do that beforehand? Because I'm always astounded and blown away. Like, I'm such a non-tech person. I don't know what I'm doing at any
Yep.
stage of my life. Did you know how to do that previously, or did you like learn how
Yep.
to do it during that?
No, I knew how to do that previously. I've always been like a computer kid.
Okay.
So yeah, that's I like in high like I guess like I'd always been like good with computers, but in high school, I worked at a computer store, and that was like
Oh,
how I
cool.
actually learned like how to build PCs and do all that stuff. So yeah, when it eventually all my friends started playing on PC, like everyone's like, yeah, I tried to get them to years ago, and everyone's like, nah, Xbox, PlayStation. I'm like, but the PC's better, trust me. And then finally, everyone did it, and I would be like on FaceTime over COVID, being like, okay, you see those like four slots? Like that's where your RAM goes. Like make sure you do one and then leave an empty space and then do the second one. Like, just shit like that. But
Just know if you were
yeah,
trying to teach me, I
I
would
think
be like,
it's
"What's a RAM?" That's my
yeah,
level of
it's
novice. So
yeah. I mean, like a lot of my friends were like that, but it's pretty easy. I mean, once you do it a couple times, it's like, okay, you can like look at a computer, like a motherboard and be like, yeah, I mean, like I know where stuff goes at this point. Like it's kind of easy, but I still
there's
have the video on how to build your gaming PC on YouTube and still go through it step by step just in case.
yeah, sure,
But
yeah. You don't want to completely fuck up and then get to a point and be like, "What step 6 steps ago did I miss?"
exactly.
Yeah, okay. Do you reckon any of that translates, like that skill set has translated to being on the road and touring, of just understanding like the tech and the gear side of things? Because I feel like that's a really unappreciated, not talked about element of tour life. Is there's a lot of gear nowadays, like even just down to like
Yeah.
working an in-ear system. Do you reckon there's
Yeah.
a translation there from like an understanding the tech of it and being able to then like fix it if it goes wrong?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, there are definitely some things where, like the guys will deal with stuff in like Logic, like let's say the show file and the click track and the samples and stuff. Like anything with Logic in it, I'm just like, I'm out. Fuck
Yeah.
that. Like I'm good. But certain things definitely like when we're talking about like like when you go to a show and it's like for in-ears, for example, like that you have like most bands like they have if you're like at a show and look at the Wi-Fi networks or something and it'll be like Counterparts something and you're like what the fuck, like what do they have a router for? Like it's for in-ears, right? So doing that and sort of being able to like mix your own ears and stuff, like people having a hard time with it and I'm like, no, like you have to, I'm like, you connect to that network, but it's not internet. Like you connect directly through like into the IP and that's how you change stuff and like little things like that. Yeah, definitely. But then, yeah, like I said, I mean, there's some stuff where, be plugging shit in, like our what they use for guitars, like the neural quad cortex stuff and any of those things. I'm just like, yeah, I'm set. I don't know
It's over your
what
head.
this shit is, but you know, for us, like we when we started bringing lights on tour, like for production stuff for stage, as soon as we did it the first day, I was just like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
just
yeah,
picked it
this
up.
is easy. Yeah, and we sort of we like do it ourselves at like as we're setting up the stage, and then everything runs on a click and everything's good to go, and it's just like, oh yeah, we can I can do this. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, cool.
I can I can build a PC, like I can definitely plug in some lights. So yeah,
Does having that
it's
knowledge
cool.
then make you want to be kind of creative in that space and put it towards like the production value of the show of knowing I understand how this works, so therefore I can kind of
Yep.
be a bit more experimental with what the show actually looks like.
To an extent, yeah. I feel like with me specifically anyway, I definitely I don't do well in terms of when I think about stuff and it's like, okay, I can do anything. You know what I mean? Like then my mind starts going nuts where it's like, you know, if I do have an understanding of it and then I can, it's like, yeah, whatever you want, we can do it. Like whatever you can think of production wise, go ahead. Then I'm like, forget it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I
too
don't want to do it
much.
anymore. Yeah, I need to have somebody sort of be like, okay, you have these options, like you pick. And then
Yeah,
maybe I can be like, oh, like option three would be sick if we is it possible if we do this? And then everyone's like, yes. I'm like, oh, okay, sick. Yeah. So like just kind of having that base knowledge of just like, is like, am I gonna look like an idiot if I ask if this is possible? Like I don't want
sure.
everyone to
Yeah,
stop talking and turn around and just be like, what do you think? We're
you
like
dum dum.
fucking wizards, like we're
Yeah.
magic or something. We can just make this stuff happen. So helps keep, yeah, definitely keeps you a little bit more like realistic for sure.
Have you toured with any bands that you've seen their production? You've been like, fuck, like we need to step up. We've really let this down compared to them.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, most headlining bands that we go out with, I'm just like, I mean, we're also, we're like just kind of now getting to a point where it's like um, where we can actually like do production and we can like
Sure.
actually afford it and stuff. So for us, it's like, you know, sorry, my cat's walking by.
No,
There's her tail.
I'm hella down for mid walk cat.
Uh,
That's fine.
yeah, of course. She doesn't hang out with me all day and then we get on the video call. Um, but yeah, like we just started doing it, so it's like we just started being able to like afford it basically. So,
Yeah, okay.
but yeah, then we go on tour with other bands and we go on tour with like, you know, we played a couple of the shows with Knock Loose and stuff and just seeing that shit and just being like, oh yeah, like bands have like fire and shit. Like
Yeah.
we're, you know, and then looking at our stage, we're like, oh, we got, you know, oh, this one little tiny light isn't working. I'm like, yeah, if Architects or Knock Loose or, you know, one of these bands that we toured with that has like pyro, I'm like, if their production fucks up, like people can die. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm like, maybe we can kick it up like a little,
An
you know,
inch. Yeah.
and, but then the real thing is sort of having those ideas and then being like, okay, you know, like obviously we can't go all out like some other bands, but what if we just kicked it up a little bit? Like, what would this cost in comparison? And then you see the price breakdown and you're like, forget it.
It's not
Forget
worth it.
it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe if our guarantee doubles, then we'll do that. But as of right now, it's like, oh, no, I'm good.
It's
So then I
interesting
go
as
home
well
with no money.
seeing the cost of ticket sales and seeing if people understand like how it's justified. I went to Bad Omens last night in Sydney,
Yep.
and they played at Horden where you played with Architects
Okay.
last year before. And the production is monstrous. It's one of the best
Yep.
productions for that size I've seen, but the ticket prices were very expensive, and I was
Yep.
like, I wonder whether the crowd, for the most part, can appreciate like that's where their money's going. They're not just paying for the artist to play; they're paying for like the
Yep.
whole thing, and whether it's justified in their eyes. Because I know there's a lot of complaints about ticket prices. Is that
For
something
sure.
for you
Yeah.
that you guys consider as well, being like, well, maybe we just need to up the ticket price?
Yeah, I mean, we like, I feel like with us, it's like when we do it, we usually go the opposite. Like we normally go, okay, like actually I think for our Australia tour coming up, there was options in terms of like booking the tour and stuff and being like, okay, if we take a little bit less money, then that means like every ticket can be $10 cheaper for everybody. And maybe we make it back because, if it's $10 cheaper and more people come, maybe
More
there's going to be
merch,
more
sure.
money left over at the end of the night. And yeah, and doing more merch and stuff. So we usually try to go the opposite of just like like what's the cheapest we can have the ticket and everybody's happy. Like we still make our money, we still pay our bills. And there's like still growth there. Like, we're
Yeah.
doing a little bit better financially, but we don't want to rinse kids pretty much.
Yeah.
But I will say like, and I don't necessarily think that bands, I don't think a lot of bands do like, they don't set out to be like, fuck them, like just make them pay more. It's like usually for the most part, if the ticket prices jump like that, it's like it is justified, like you said. Like having like giant production like that, it's like yeah, like you're getting a show.
Yeah.
Like if we, if that were us, it's like and we're spending all that money on production and everything, it's like it definitely kicks it up from like this is a $10, $20 show in a 500 cap venue where there's like, there's one light on the stage or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
and it's like a small club show type thing. Yeah. Those like, it makes sense. But when you get into that level, it's like, all right, this is a whole like production. Like
Yeah.
this is a night.
It's a
This is
show. It's a
it's
full-on
it's
movie.
theater. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, and I think like with that, for the most part, like kids are kind of like they do kind of get it, and I've seen it where yeah, I think like with COVID especially, I feel like a lot of people were out of work and everybody was like bitching, right? Obviously, but I think one good thing that came from it was like people kind of understood like, oh, like being in a band is expensive. Like running a band like is a lot of money,
Yeah.
and I think as people are more transparent about it, like, you can't years ago you wouldn't go up to like Motley Crue and be like, "Oh, what do you pay? How
Yeah.
much, your tour manager, what does he make a week or whatever?" And
Yeah.
for us it's like I'll just fucking tweet it like about album stuff like being like how much does it cost to do a record? I'm like $50,000. It's like that's the number, you know what I mean? Like I'm just because I
Do
don't
you
care.
feel
I'm like,
any
yeah,
okay,
see, like,
you've kind of answered that. Do you have any
yep.
like reservations about being too open and like letting people in too much, or you don't really care?
I mean, with certain things, yes. I think as far as like the band goes and like how the band operates and um, what like I don't want to be like Mr. Mystery and do all of that stuff, but also I don't want people to know every single thing, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
especially like for with me, I guess like a lot of it is like lyrics, and they're very personal to me and like they're very real. Like they're not like stories I'm making up. It's all
Yeah, based in your
real
life.
things that have happened. And for the most part, I think that's a big reason why people like us because they're like, oh, you know, like they feel that closeness. And I love that. That's my favorite part about being in the band. But then yeah, it can get a little bit weird when it's like people I don't know, you know what I mean? Or people just being like, oh, dude, like what's that about? Like, is that about your ex-girlfriend or is that about, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't want to talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
already wrote
you.
it in the
Like, what the
song. That's
hell?
enough for you.
Yeah, exactly. But I do, I do like that element. Like, the only drawback is then, yeah, sometimes people start to think like, not that we're not friends, but it's like people start to be like, oh yeah, it's like I know those guys,
Yeah.
and then that makes it easier for them to not come to a show when you play their city because they're like, oh yeah, those guys are always around. Like whatever, fuck it. And I'm like, no, man,
Yeah. Okay.
like
That's
you gotta
interesting.
come now.
I need the
But
support more than ever. If
yeah,
you're my friend, you got to support me as a friend.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Just give me money.
Yeah,
Just
sure,
get
sure,
just give
sure.
me a little bit more money,
Johnny and
and
I
we're
were
good.
having this discussion yesterday about social media and as the channel's grown and become like more and more like prevalent and aware at shows, he's finding it harder to feel like he has to be on with people at all times, particularly through social media. And I was like, yeah, it is
Yep.
an interesting thing when you're doing something that's so forward facing. And for you as like the front man of the band, you're a much more visual connection for people. You're the mouthpiece. You're writing the
Sure.
lyrics that's connecting. And Johnny was saying for us, because it's just he and I talking to a camera all the time, and we talk as friends, people hear that, and so they hear the interaction as friends as well, and it's created a really
Absolutely.
interesting dynamic.
Yep.
It's a very interesting time in the world for that because we're all sort of like shifting the way relationships connect with people and what it means and how
Yeah,
connected we
definitely.
actually are. How did you find
Yep.
the because you did the live stuff with Craig end of last
Yep.
year? How was that experience doing like the podcast format but in person and having people actually there? Did that change it much, or was it more fun?
I mean, it's so at first I like um I remember being like, oh, like, like when I confirmed it, I was like, I can't wait. Like, this is gonna be so sick. Like, I don't even have to yell, whatever. Like, I don't have to do shit. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
break a sweat, and I go on tour and do it. And then like short, like I mean, pretty soon, like it was very short, like a short amount of time, and I quickly realized like, oh yeah, but like I don't have a fallback plan. Like, I don't have that. Like when I play shows with counterparts, it's like I can make my little jokes and do my goofy little bits, and then if they don't hit, I'm just like, all right, fuck it, here's
here's the
another
song.
song, and then we just play a song, and I have that sort of like backup plan. I have that
Yeah,
safety net, but with the podcast thing, it's not even my podcast, so I'm like, I'm just like, if I make a joke and it doesn't land, I'm just like, oh, sorry, my bad,
but yeah,
and then you just have to
got to
like
sit in
move
it.
on. Yeah, it's like it's so weird. It's the weirdest thing. I mean, it was fun and it worked out. Like Craig and I, we've been friends forever, and it's like, yeah, I mean, we literally it was just him and I hanging out with like our friends on stage, and it was just like cool. Yeah, like maybe it'll be funny, maybe it won't be, maybe it'll be serious, like maybe the whole thing will be a bit. I don't know. We didn't plan anything. But everybody that came, they seemed to be having a good time, and everybody was cracking up, and it was like, okay, cool. Would I do it again? Like probably not, because
Sure. Okay.
it's like it makes me pretty nervous. But also, I told Craig I was down to do it when I was still drinking like way too much, and then since then I did that tour, and it's like, oh, I'm like sober, so I can't even get wasted and like just make a mess every night, and I'm just like, oh fuck, like maybe if I wasn't drinking at that point, I would have been like, nah, that doesn't sound fun.
It
But
does
in
seem
the
like an
moment, I'm like,
intimidating
whatever.
thing for someone who has a bit of social anxiety,
Yeah,
as you and I've talked about before. I
yeah,
thought
and
it's a bold
it
move.
is, yeah. For sure. Yeah, and like I said, it's always easy to just be like, yeah, I'm down, sure. Yeah, whatever. Oh yeah, it'll be fucking easy. And then you get there, and it's 30 minutes before we're supposed to start, and Craig's like, "What are we talking about?" And I'm like, I don't know.
It's your thing,
Like,
man.
I'm like, it's your podcast, like, and he's like, okay, like we can do this, this, and this, and I'm just like, oh God, like, and it's scary. And I think the fear just comes from, I don't want anybody to come out to that and just be like, oh, I paid fucking $20 to watch Brendan eat Skittles and like hit his vape. Like why did I don't want
Yeah,
anybody to feel like they wasted their money. So I want to be funny, and I want to, make people laugh and give them their money's worth pretty much. So, and
sure.
luckily, I don't think anybody left being like, "Oh, that was fucking stupid." So I
I
think it
do
worked
think,
out, but
and this is not to blow smoke, but I do think that
yep,
the concept and what's cool about that is that it's what we're talking about before. You're letting people in to something they wouldn't necessarily get access to. You're letting them into a
sure,
conversation that you're on stage talking with your friends, and it'd be kind of the same as if you're backstage having that conversation or hanging out in a room.
exactly,
And
exactly,
sure, there's an audience and there's a bit of like to and fro with them, but they get to be part
yep,
of something. And I think that's a really interesting, kind of cool thing that the world's got now is that there's opportunity to hear these conversations and be connected to the audience and the fans from an artist perspective, but also the other way around that we never had
Yep.
before. Like, fuck this. Seeing like people who would have loved
Yeah.
Counterparts 20 years ago, they would have had to wait for that written interview in a magazine and they wouldn't have had those little
Exactly.
nuances and got to understand you
Yep.
as a person. That's really cool.
For sure.
But I think it also takes a certain type of person. Like, I actually think it's really brave, not in like a you're a firefighter way, but like it's a brave thing to get up there on stage and talk to people and be open like that. Because
For sure.
some people just have a panic attack at that.
Yeah. And I like it definitely helps. I guess like if it was my podcast and it was just me and it was like, yep, like you go up and like it's all you, like make them laugh, I'd be like, fuck no, there's no
Yeah,
way I'm doing that.
I'm not a stand-up
But
comic.
yeah, exactly. But with doing it with Craig and then also just all the guests being our friends and stuff, like we would be hanging out backstage, waiting to go on stage,
Yeah,
and we'd be talking about stuff, and it'd be people we haven't hung out with in a sec, and then we start talking, and Craig goes like, "Okay, wait, no, stop. We like let's talk about this on stage. Like we need like this is
yeah.
on stage stuff, like all of these things." And so and then at that point, it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm literally just talking to my friends.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit, it like, yeah, definitely, it made it a bit easier, but for sure, I'm just like, oh, well, if they're my friends, if we have some sort of in joke and I make a reference, like no one in the crowd is going to get it. And then we're going to be up there laughing and they won't know what's going on and all these things. And I'm just like, but then at the end of the day, you just have to be like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I promised you me hanging out with my friends. That's what you're gonna get at the very least. That's all I can do.
They can't be
So
disappointed by that.
for sure.
Now I want to talk about heaven off just like I know we talked before about you sharing a lot of your life and giving people insights, whereas that's something that you
Yep.
guys fucking crushed and you didn't, you just dropped it out of nowhere. Are you
Yep.
happy? You've been able to sit with it for a few months. Are you happy with how that all went? Did you get the response that you'd hoped for after going no build up, no hype, just drop it, and then here's two videos and here's a tour? Go.
I like I think so. I think really I guess like the deciding factor of that is going to be this North American tour that starts in 3 weeks, and then obviously that, and then Australia, Japan after, and Europe in the summer. All these things. It's like once like that'll be the real test. Is sort
Yeah.
of
Okay.
like putting this EP out. I mean, the response was great online and stuff, and just seeing everyone's reactions, and just everybody, yeah, like especially everybody going nuts about the fact that it was a surprise drop. Because that was me really pushing to do the surprise drop, and
Yeah. Sure.
I knew that if it backfired and like we shit the bed ever, like it's all my fault, and it's like I'm never gonna hear the end of it. So I'm really glad that I think it's a cool thing to do, and when other artists do it, I'm like, this fucking rocks, like just
Yeah.
dropped out of nowhere, and I'm like, we can do that. And I begged and begged for other shit, and everyone's like, no, that's stupid, like you can't do that, you got to have pre-orders, you got to do this shit, and it's like finally lined up, we did it, and it like everybody's like, forget the reaction on terms like in as far as how what they thought about the music. Just the what the hell, Counterparts just put a EP out of nowhere. Like, look at this shit. Look at the video. It was that reaction. I was like, that's what I wanted. I wanted everybody because we hadn't done a lot of stuff last year.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years since Eulogy came out. Like everybody was like, I don't think we were being talked about like a lot or at all. Everyone's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. They'll probably do something soon. It's about that time. And then just they go to bed and wake up the next day and they're like, wait, there's a fucking EP out. What the hell? And then just that buzz, it was like, okay, cool. Finally, like this paid off,
Yeah. Sick.
So yeah, so that was really cool. I mean, I definitely think that like doing it and then sort of being like, here's an EP. We're not touring for 3, 4 months. See ya. I'm
Yeah.
like that kind of sucks, but it was, do that and get it out earlier or just sit on this EP for like an extra 3, 4 months. It's
And
like,
then to try and release it at the start of
whatever.
the year, and it might get lost by the time playlisting happens throughout the year. And I get the timing of why you
Exactly.
did it. Have you had a chance to play any of
For
it live
sure.
yet?
Yep.
Like any of it?
We've only done we've only the one show we did in Florida with Knock Loose. That was the first and only time we did Martyr and No Lamb
Okay.
live. So the next yeah, the next stuff that the next time anybody's going to hear it live is on the North American tour. So and we're doing the whole EP. So I'm stoked for that because
Oh,
those
yeah.
doing those two songs at the Florida show, that was the most fun I've had on stage in forever.
Fuck yeah.
I'm like I don't want to fucking do like Stranger anymore, and I don't want to do Witness and songs that are like 10 years old. I'm like, nah, I want to do like the new heavy ones, and it was so fun, and so I'm stoked to do the whole EP. Like
Will you
we're
be
not
doing
gonna
the
do it
same
in
in
order,
Oz?
but yeah, I mean, yeah, probably.
Cool.
Yeah, like at least the EP for sure. It's like it's 16 minutes of music. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, we
great.
can do all that.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
do all that and then do another 45 of just like old stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm stoked for that for sure.
We're also stoked is that it's like a headline tour because last time obviously you were out with
Same.
architects and we only got a little
Yep.
a little taste of counterparts. So it's nice to have you come out
Yeah,
and give us a full experience.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, we like I mean the last couple tours that we've done, they've been support tours, but they've all been really big, right? So,
Yeah.
that's the trade-off is like playing to new people, I guess, and basically with the intention of like playing to newer people that might not have know us yet, and then being like, "You're gonna come back when we headline, though, right?" And just sort of trying to grab that.
Yeah.
And I think we had done enough support tours where it was just like we gotta like just headline. We have to headline Australia and not be one of three, one of four, playing for 30 minutes, whatever, like fucking 20 minutes after doors open. It's like, nope, let's give them a proper like hour set headline, cool venue, maybe go a little bit bigger, but still, not nothing like thousands cap. It's like, maybe 1,000 at most. So yeah, I'm stoked to be coming back and doing that for sure.
It's a cool lineup you're bringing with you as well, which is really fun.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
We're
Yeah. Yeah, and I
yeah,
mean like we maybe we'll add some more. I don't know, but at the very least it's us and Dying Wish at this point. But
yeah.
we'll see. I mean,
That's a strong
I mean
start.
at least every show like there's going to be locals and stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
I would hate to do like two, I mean, well, I might actually be sick to do like whatever 7 doors, Dying Wish at 8, we play at 9, like would be kind of sick, but at the same time, get some local bands, make it an actual show, right?
I
Like I
think
said, give people their
one
money's worth.
local is great because there's been a
Yeah,
trend, and you might have
for
noticed
sure.
this. I'm aware of the time here, so I don't run too long. But there's been a trend to be like 5 band
Okay.
bills, and it starts at 6, and the league goes on at 10. And I'm too fucking old for that now. I
For
love
sure.
watching music, but also I love bed.
Yep.
So
Same.
3 bands sounds great. Get a local, open
Absolutely.
strong, and you're on by 9, 10:30
Yep.
finish. Hot damn, that sounds like a great time.
Yeah. That's the move. I feel like that's the best for sure. Like when I go to K-pop shows and stuff, it's like doors at 7, they start at 8, they play till like 10, 11, maybe,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like, yeah, there's one act and you're just like, cool, sick,
That
awesome.
and then
You
you
know
know
what I
what you're
mean? Like,
getting. Yeah.
yeah, and it's in exactly. And then it's like that, those tickets are like $200-300, and that's a fucking show.
Yeah,
They're
that's
playing
a
for
whole
3 hours. I'm
performance.
I'm like, I'm like, yeah, take my money. Sure. Absolutely.
You've earned it with your sweat.
For sure. It's like, oh, you're singing and dancing. Like, okay. Like, there you go.
Well,
Fine,
there you
fair
go.
enough.
That's the
But
next step for counterparts. You don't need to worry about lights and fire. You just do a bit more of a dance move.
exactly. I mean, would be a lot cheaper. It would be way cheaper to learn how to dance than pay for like lights and programming and all that. But
And I would pay more to come and see that. So that's
that's
all
the thing. I
balances
feel I,
out.
f- I feel like people would too, but fuck. I would, but it would also, it would just be me. The rest of the guys, they have like instruments to play, which would kind of suck.
No, that's not an
But
excuse. I don't
true,
accept that.
true.
You can dance with a guitar. There's some shimmy and stuff you can do.
Yeah, you can do some stuff.
We'll brainstorm.
That's true. Of
I like it. Dude, it's always a pleasure to catch up. We're stoked you're coming out.
course.
It's a few months away, but hope the first US tour goes super, super well. And
Hope
any
so.
mistakes you make, you can fix by the time you get to Oz.
Absolutely. That's the yep. That you got to do the test first, and then yeah, definitely by the time we get to Australia, we're gonna be like fucking tight. Like it's gonna be crazy. So
Can't wait to
I'm
see the
stoked.
dance moves. Legend.
Yeah, I'll be practicing.
Thanks, friend.
No worries. Thanks.